Good morning and welcome to the Elevate Renatus team call. This is your host, Keely Austin. As of right now, we have 59 participants on the line, and that number is climbing. Make sure that you reach out to your team and get them set up with the reminder text for these calls. And if you don't know what that is, just type in the chat. I'll make sure to share that with everybody. All right, today is Wealth Wednesday, and again, we get to learn from Daine Clark. Daine is absolutely killing it in this business, and we are truly fortunate to get to learn from him every week. A little bit of Daine's background. Before Renatus, he was working two jobs. He was working for both Apple and he was also a roofer. For Apple, he was in the back. He was actually kind of shy at the time. And as a roofer, he fell into roofing because that's what his dad did. And with fair skin and red hair, being in the sun all day was definitely not Daine's cup of tea. So at the time, he was barely making ends meet, and he started looking for other income opportunities. And after finding Renatus, he plugged into the Renatus system, and he listened to his mentor. He applied Velocity Banking to pay down debt, and then he used that situation as leverage as a down payment for a duplex. He lived in one side of the duplex, and he rented out the other side. Fast forward to today, Daine has now raised over $8 million from investors to lend on various real estate transactions, and his secret to that is consistency and frequency. He's grown his team. He's now recognized by our CEO, Bob Snyder, as a key leader. He's on the PIT team, meaning he's a President's Advisory Council member in training. And I'm very excited to see what Daine has to share with us today. Good morning, Daine.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Doing well, just overcoming this cough. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Sorry to hear that. Best wishes. Wish you well. Hopefully it passes soon. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm super excited. Thank you for hitting that recording, Keely. So I got some good stuff today. But you guys all know me, right? And if this is your first time on the call, I love hearing the feedback. I love being interactive with people. And so, first of all, I'd love to hear from you guys and see what did you guys do in the last week, okay? So the thing that I track in my business, and you know, a lot of you have probably heard me say this, but I did 261 one-on-ones in 2019. And that equated to about $900 per one-on-one for how much Renatus paid me. So that's what I track. How many one-on-ones do I do that I could sit and I could ask for the close, I could ask for the order, ask for the credit card if it was appropriate. So in the last 7 days, let's see, I know I did 1, 2, we just got back into town on Monday. So between yesterday and Monday, I was able to get 2 in. So if I go to my chat here, all right. So go ahead and chime in, chat, come off of mute. You hit *6, and then you can just yell it out if you want to. But those of you who may remember, like last week, I had to report a 0. I had you know, been out of town and whatever, you know, excuses. And I had to report myself a nice little goose egg. And the thing about reporting a goose egg, I mean, you begin being honest with yourself. You begin attracting success to you because you're being honest, right? So whenever I have a 0, I think it happened 1 or 2 times last year. I report myself a big fat 0 because then I can see it, right? I can look back and see that. So if you have that, don't be afraid, right? Nobody's going to judge you. All right, so we got Sandra. She had one guest last week. Chuck had 1. David and Gilda had 2. Sherry Ashby had 2. Rhonda had 1. Keely had 1 one-on-one. 6 guests last Thursday. Congratulations. And if I remember from last week, Keely, if you're okay if I say, I want to say you said you had like 10 guests registered or something like that. I just remember a little bit more. I mean, and that's normal. That's what happens. I mean, it happens to the best of us. It happens to the beginners. It happens to everything in between. So it's just an expectation that, I mean, not everybody's going to show up. So let's see. Amy had 0 again. No more double zero. No more double zero periods in 2020. I love it, Amy. Good job. Jeff is, both Amy and Jeff are going to have the positive success gods come and visit them this next week, right? And I'm going to share some things with you guys to help you with that today. Let's see. Doug and Debbie, 2 attended, 1 follow-up, and then a self-destruct. Oh man, it happens every time. Yeah, Keely, thank you for showing that. I mean, that's pretty good, actually. A 6 out of 10 show-up ratio, that's pretty darn good. Let's see, Michael had 4. Congratulations, brother. And okay, so the next thing, and keep on bringing them in. We got 70 people on the call, and I don't see 70 things here. So I mean, I don't want to guilt anybody, right? Everybody just does this on their own, their own progression, things like that. That's totally fine. I don't want to push anybody to doing that, but yeah, just chime in and do that. Evan had 1. Congratulations, brother. So keep on going with those. Next, I love fielding one question. So the questions that I love to answer are like, hey, who are you working with that you either got stuck, don't know how to answer a question that they jumped out at you and asked the question. You're just like, I don't know. So you know who you are. Go ahead. First person who jumps off of mute or chats into the chat box, go ahead and let's take a question about somebody that you are working with, and let's see if we can give you some I don't know, advice, suggestions, stories even of what we can do. So I had somebody chat in. Brian, thank you, brother. Success gods are coming your way to deliver a little win, right? All right, so who has a question on somebody that they're working with? If not, I got stuff to talk about today, and I'm super stoked. So you know who you are. I've got somebody who says they have a hand raised. Not sure who that is. Oh, Jeff Massey, did you just come off of mute?
I did. I was wondering if it's somebody, I have an agent that I met that's from out of town, and so I have no idea. They come from a strong Renatus community area, but is it appropriate to ask, just getting to know somebody, if they've ever heard of the company Renatus, just to get a feeler? Or is that just kind of taboo? How do you feel about that? If they're in the business and you feel like you got some value for them, but you know, you don't know because you don't want to get into it, and then they go, oh, I heard of that. You guys are crap. It's, you know what I'm saying? It's just kind of a 6 of one and half done with another. And so I'm just curious, how do you feel about that?
I personally don't. I mean, I'm sure there are people who would do something like that, but I personally don't. And here's why. So I just met with a guy yesterday, actually. It was my one-on-one yesterday. And he had already heard of Renatus. He had already been down to meetings before, actually. And he flat out told me, oh, I walked out early. You know, it looked like just a big MLM real estate scam. And so I walked out early. And it was interesting, though, because he had never met me. And, you know, that's one of the things that I always choose to believe. Like, no, anybody who didn't like Renatus, dude, they haven't met me yet, right? They haven't heard my stories yet. They haven't heard the stories that I have to share yet, right? And so if I go back to when I first met this gentleman, you know, we're talking on the phone. He's a successful realtor, made 200, and I didn't know this at the time I talked to him on the phone. But in hindsight, I found this out yesterday. So, you know, he made $230,000 yesterday as a realtor, just doing transactions and helping people. But anyway, so if I rewind, when I first was talking to him, you know, just a quick call, talking about stuff, shooting the bull, getting to know each other a little bit, you know, 15 minutes. And he tells me, he's like, yeah, I'm very interested. You know, I want to meet. And I, you know, didn't talk Renatus, nothing, any of that stuff. And then we text back and forth just a little bit. And he goes, oh, I know all about Renatus, you know, because somehow he figured out, I don't know, maybe he knew I was in it. You know, somebody told him, I have no idea, but I never dropped it, right? And so he says, oh, I already know all about Renatus. And I just chose to just like like, who cares, right? You haven't met me, right? I always have that mindset of, if you looked at Renatus previously and you didn't like it, then you missed something, brother. Because, like Keely mentioned, it's funny. She's been tracking me almost, I feel like. I just broke raising $9 million. And I was just looking at it yesterday. The real estate portfolio that I've put together generates $47,000 a month. And it is debt-free. Debt-free. It's crazy. And I would never have done any of this if it were not for Renatus, right? So even before I had that kind of credibility behind me, I saw other people that were doing something similar. And so I just started choosing to believe. If somebody has beef with Renatus, they just missed something, right? They haven't heard some of these stories. Thank you, Keely. Right. So would I say, have you ever heard of Renatus? I probably wouldn't. I would just start talking about my community, right? And if they've heard of Renatus, then they might come out and say, oh, I've heard of, is this Renatus, and so you'll kind of uncover it that way, because you don't want to give somebody Google ammo before they ever come and see value first. Value first, because the Google, we all know this, right? The Google literally has the answer to every question that we can ask. It has the answer to the question, is Renatus a good thing, right? And you'll find that. If you Google that, you will find that. If you Google, is Renatus a scam? You will find that, right? Literally, Google will give you anything you ask for. Whether it's true or not, different story. Just depends on the individual. But so long answer to your question, I personally wouldn't. I would talk about your local real estate community. Okay, so great question. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, and let me just check that comment really fast, just to make sure. Okay, cool. So share my screen. We're going to pop over to my little chalkboard thing here, and I got some stuff for you guys today. I'm super, super stoked. So let's see, today is forgot to do this beforehand. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. All right, today is January 15th. Mastermind. Okay, so let me start with a quick story though. So if you recall, and if you've been on my previous calls, I had a call that I talked about the way to reach your goals is going to be directly related to how many people you talk to about those goals, right? And so the last couple of weeks we've talked about visions and creating your 2020 vision of what you want to accomplish, right? And trying to be a little bit of specific. And when I say vision, I mean like daydream or in essence, dream a dream of you achieving the thing, right? Right. So if you go forward to the moment of right after you achieve a goal, and then you start looking backwards and like, oh my gosh, like remember when I only thought this was a possibility or not even possible, but I wanted it, so I set a goal for it, and holy crap, I got it, right? So creating that vision. And so the point I want to make, or the story I want to tell, is that concept of one of the definitive things that will help you understand whether or why you got your goal or didn't was here. Let me do this really fast. Right? We talked about knowing it in and out really, really well, being able to see it, right? See that vision, not only seeing you accomplishing it, but seeing yourself doing it, right? Seeing yourself as the person who is operating at a level or at a frequency that is that type of person, that accomplishes those types of things, right? So seeing it, saying it, you know, achieving your goal depends largely on how many people you say it to, essentially. Then feeling it and acting it. Okay. And so, quick story. Some of you may have heard one of the goals that I had set for myself. I want 2020, and if I practice what I preach, essentially, I am so grateful that I picked up more long-term real estate deals in 2020 than I ever have in my life. My goal is to do over a dozen long-term real estate deals. You know, a lot of the deals that I've done have been short-term stuff. I do have a few long-terms, but this is my year. Everything in my life, right? And you'll notice that, you know, I hate to say lip service, but you'll notice that I'm saying this because I believe it's true. If somebody were to look at me and say, you know, and hear me say this and be like, "Are you sure that's true, Dave?" But listen to this, right? I am so grateful that everything in my life pointed towards this moment, and especially this year, that allowed me to achieve my goal. And I'm so grateful for all the help and all of the people that were there throughout this year that helped me achieve this goal, right? So you notice that I'm speaking in past tense. Like I've already achieved my goals in my mind for 2020. Okay? But when you get to that point where you know it, right? You know, just enough, you can see yourself, you to the point where you can actually say it. You don't really have a real goal in your own mind if you can't say it. And you're feeling it, and then you begin acting it, right? So that goal of picking up long-term stuff, I started acting as if, and I started talking to a bunch of people, right? So I would literally like call somebody else and be like, "Hey, you got like an hour?" And I would just start telling him like, "Hey, here's what I want to do," right? And literally I could keep the same energy. I could keep the same, I could keep up a conversation about my one goal for an hour with somebody. And the only reason we went an hour is because I had another appointment, so I had to go, right? And so I started even scheduling meetings with people, right? I'd sit down and meet with somebody and be like, "Yeah, let me show you this. You know, I want to know, I'm curious. I want to know what you think." Okay? I hope you guys are taking notes because I am sharing some gold in just things that I've been doing to reach, you know, some of these goals. And so here's some things that have been happening to me as I'm sharing my goal with people of picking up long-term real estate this year. So one, the gentleman that I met yesterday, he's like, "Holy cow, I want to do that too." Okay. And so even though he had already known about Renatus, and we sat down and met, and he came and listened to the presentation a second time, and he's like, "Holy crap, I don't remember it this way." He was like, "You know what? I actually walked out early because I just thought, but I actually listened to the end this time." And he's like, "Holy cow, this is cool stuff," right? And so we meet yesterday, and again, he's like, because he just has this old stigma in his mind of Renatus equals MLM scam, right? And so we just had to prove him wrong, right? Prove his subconscious mind wrong. And so for him, as I'm sharing my goal with him, he's like, "Holy smokes, I want to do that too." And so I keep going back, because he's impressed, right? He's impressed with just my goal. Just my goal, he's impressed. And so I keep on coming back and saying, "Oh, you know what? Everything I learned to do what I'm doing about this goal, right? Everything I know, and the reason I can see it is because I own Renatus." I didn't go and learn this somewhere else, Google, YouTube, podcast, bigger pocket. No, I learned this from Renatus, right? So I'm sharing my goal with him, and so he's jumping on board. And he put his order in. Like, here's the guy that basically said, "Is this Renatus?" And went from that negativity to where he's like, "You know what? I think I want to do this. Let's get going." Okay. And so So there's one thing. Here, let me share another one with you though, right? Man, I just got stories. And you notice in yourself, right? When you start doing this to other people, and it doesn't matter what your level is of how much experience they have or whatever, you build credibility just by sharing these types of things, right? I could go back to my very first deal, credibility 0, and share the same thing, right? But let me share one more story. So just sharing goals with people, and you'll find yourself start attracting those things, right? And so, yeah, this person joining Renatus, that might not necessarily help me find short-term or long-term real estate, but it's going to help me fund it, right? If I make $10,000, I mean, that's a chunk of change that I could put towards a long-term real estate deal. And if I want to do 10 deals, I'm going to have more resources than I currently have today to go and do that. So I need more, both personal resources and using Jay Massey's classes of raising more money to have more resources. Okay. So anyway, so I sit down with somebody, and the guy's a lender. The guy is a bank. He works for like Bank of Utah or something. I actually don't even know, but some big bank. Okay. And so I sit down, I share my goal with him, and I say, here's what I want to do. And here's what I'm thinking. And, have you ever helped somebody buy this many, this much real estate? And he's telling me, he starts lighting up, and he gets excited. He's like, oh my gosh, and so he starts telling me some things that he's done for other investors. And so we just we connect on, and we're just talking about my goal. and he's super stoked because those are the people that you want to hang around. If you find those types of people that want to talk to you about what you are getting passionate about, those are the people you want to hang out with. Yeah. And so anyway, so we're talking, and I'm sharing with him my goals of how I'm going to do it, and how I'm filing my taxes in a certain way so that I can, and how I've been working on my credit report. So the only thing I have on my reporting to my debt to income, anyway, so we're going all, I mean, again, knowing your goal in detail is important. Okay. So I know exactly how I'm going to do all this. I mean, it's funny though, because if you really ask me, like, how are you going to do this? Like, I'm not quite sure, but I know, right? I know it's going to happen. And the right knowledge is going to be showing up at the right time. The right people are going to be showing up at the right time, because I am taking action. I am opening my mouth, and I understand the concept that me reaching my goal is just going to be a matter of how many people do I talk to. Okay. So anyway, so we talk, and then I go my merry way. We talk for maybe an hour and a half, and I go my merry way. He texts me. Oh my gosh, you guys okay if I just share? I think you guys can all see my screen right now. So where is my text messages with him? Tim. Let me do this. Tim Roberts. There we go. So he shoots me over a text message on December 17th. Call me. I have a possible buyer that needs a contract for deed. One of my past clients that has gone through a hard relationship. Okay. And so he hands me this deal essentially on a silver platter, because I told him I don't want rental properties. Like I don't really see myself as a landlord and rentals and all that kind of thing, fixing fish action figures out of toilets, or even just paying people to fish action figures out of toilets. Okay, so here we are. We're talking about this deal, right? And so let me share with you guys. This is crazy what is happening. Just because I got to know it, so I found myself diving into the contract for deed classes inside of Renatus, right? I'm seeing myself doing contract for deed type real estate deals. I'm telling other people that whether I know them or not, that I am going to do, and a lot of people don't know what contract for deed is, so I basically just say long term, right? So I tell people I'm going to do some, pick up over a dozen long-term real estate deals this year, right? And people can feel it, right? Everybody on this call, even though we're not even like in the same room, and you're watching me like pace around and here in my little mobile office, but you can feel it, right? Because I've done these steps. I've done these steps. I've taken and invested time into making sure that I'm filled up on each of these things, or filling myself up on each of these things. Because if you ask me how I'm going to do it exactly, like I don't know the fine-tuned details of all the different words that are going to show up on the pieces of paper when we sign and all. I don't know, but I know how I'm going to get it. I know how I'm going to find that, and I think I know who I'm going to have write this up. Anyway, so you guys get the idea. And so to fast forward, I just talked to this gentleman yesterday, and these people are going to go for it. They're interested, right? So, and obviously I'm not going to count my chickens before they hatch, but check this out. So the purchase price of this home is $280,000. That this couple wants to buy, but they have a credit of about 605, and so they can't buy it. But they own a business. And we all know as business owners that banks don't necessarily like business owners unless you've been in business for 1 to 5 years even. And so the banker, Mr. Tim Roberts, he can't fund them. There's nothing he can do. And so as he's talking to these people, he's like, "Oh my gosh, I know a guy that might be able to help you. I just talked to him like last week." And let's talk to him. I think he'll be able to buy this house for you and basically seller finance it back to you, essentially, because contract for deed is kind of like a form of seller finance. Okay, so anyway, so purchase price of this home, $280,000. Okay, and so if I buy this myself, like if I just go buy this and turn around and sell this to them on a contract for deed on the same day, basically I buy it and sell it within a 24-hour period. All right, so I'll buy it for $280. I'll sell it to them for $280. But check this out and how contract for deed works. Okay, so let's say I put $72,000 down. Okay, just money that I got in the savings account. So $72,000 down, and I don't have time to go into why exactly I chose this number, but I'll tell you just a little bit here in just a second. Okay, so I put $72,000 down, which means my loan is going to be $208,000, and I'll have some, closing fees and stuff like that. So plus or minus a few $1,000s on this. Okay, so my loan payment, just principal and interest, will be about $1,075 per month on this loan. Okay, and so then I will turn around and let's see, maybe make sure anything else on my end. Nope, we're good. Okay, so then I will turn around and contract for deed to this person for $280,000. Now, when I contract for deed this to this person, I'm going to charge them a 10% fee, which means essentially $28,000 is earned and paid to by me, right? That is not going towards the purchase price. And they have, and this is one of those deals that you can't teach to find this kind of deal. This is one of those deals that I call, had my name on it, right? And so you will find those deals that had your name on it. And as you study and learn in the contract for deed classes, you'll notice that he teaches you how to consistently go and find deals and how to analyze them and how to hit all these good, nice base hits that are going to really make a difference as long as you scale. But maybe you go do one of them, you get a little bit of cash, maybe make a car payment or something like that. I call this deal the type of deal that has your name on it. The only reason you get these kinds of deals is because, well, you're not afraid to do this. Okay. So in my career, I've had, I'd probably say maybe four deals that had my name on it that were like this one. Okay. And like I said, I'm not counting my chickens before they hatch. I'm essentially putting this together and let's see if they go for it. Okay. So Mr. Tim Roberts. So contract for deed, fee, down payment. So Mr. Tim Roberts, as he's been working with them, they essentially just sold their house. So they've got a bunch of cash and they want to buy another one. Okay. And so they were going through tough times. So they used a lot of that money to pay off a bunch of debt, but they're going to use the rest of it, just roll it into the next house. So they have $111,000 that they just got back from the sale of this home that they had just been living in for the last however many years. And so they're going to put that money down on the contract for deed. Now, if you remember, I said that I'm charging them a fee to do this seller financing, okay? Because this property is market value, and we all know as real estate investors, we don't buy stuff market value, okay? And so essentially I said, you know what, I want to still get a little bit of a discount here, but because he's putting so much down, this is going to mitigate a bunch of my risk. And so down payment, $111,000. So if I'm not a head math guy. This is starting to confuse me. So I'm going to pull up my calculator. And so here we go. 280,000 plus the 28,000 fee, basically 10%, minus the $111,000 equals 197. Okay, did I do that right? I think so. Okay, so in essence, the contract for deed, and maybe I shouldn't say this is the contract for deed. This is the purchase price. Okay, the contract for deed is going to be the 197. Okay, and so if I run the math on this, the payment on that is going to be about it's like 18. Oh no, sorry, I did the math wrong there. It's not too much bigger than my payment. It was like 1370. I just remember the number came out to 267 per month. So whatever that number is, okay, 13 something. And just for sake of time, we won't go into the detailed details, but let's just call it 1360 something. I don't know, 1365. Okay, and so you can see here that my cash flow on this deal will be, because I don't have any maintenance fees, I don't have any, any insurance, any taxes that I have to pay, just flow through to the end user, right? So that all becomes a wash. So here's where I get my spread basically by just the principal and interest. Okay, because my loan will be about 5%, this loan will be about 7%, or this contract for deed will be about 7%. Okay, so here I am getting $267 per month. Now that does not look very exciting. If I put $72,000 down and get $267 a month, I mean, that's not very exciting, right? But check this out. They made a down payment of $111,000. So if I do the math backwards there, see, if I put in 72,000 and they give me 111,000, I just made $39,000. Or I shouldn't say made, but I just pocketed $39,000. And so I am getting paid 39,000, and I'm getting paid $267 a month. I'm getting paid to buy this house and cash flow every single month, right? And so this is why I was like, I jump on the phone with Tim Roberts. I say, yep, tell them yes, like whatever, whatever it takes, let's figure this out, right? Send me over the real estate purchase contract. I'm gonna, because they already made an offer on the home, and it got accepted. And so we're going to have to assign the contract over to me, and I buy the house, and then we go through this contract for deed dance and figure it out, right? But so, and I don't mean this to brag. I want everybody on this call to understand the value of this, of investing time, because we all already own Renatus. So I want everybody to understand the need for investing time into these things. Understanding your goal deeper, right? If you look at my calendar, if you look at my schedule, in fact, here, look at my calendar, look at my schedule. If you look at what I do every day, you'll notice that I block off time. And even if I go forward in my template, just template week, I block off time to develop and deeper understand my goals for the year 2020. Okay, and I've got a really specific thing of what I want to learn. Right? Like, for example, going through that contract for deed class. And so understanding, I want to spend time journaling and literally putting pen to paper of how I'm going to do it, right? So if you go to my notes here, I have and I don't necessarily want to go into too deep into my personal life here, but if I go to my notes, I've got my 2020 vision of how I'm going to do it this year, how I'm going to hit some of these big goals, right? And so you've heard me say, if you don't have a one-page essay essentially of your goal, then that's not a real goal. It's just a pipe dream, right? You got to have words on a paper, or like what I have here on the iPad or on the computer, or whatever. Like, you got to have words written down of what it is. You got to have words written down of seeing yourself not only achieving it and being on the receiver end of your goal, but you also have to have words written down of seeing yourself doing it and taking those actions, right? And seeing yourself as the type of person that it's normal for these types of goals to happen, right? And then the saying, I mean, you just go and start saying it, right? If you are afraid to say your goal to other people, friends, family, people that you meet off the street, that you're just getting to know, and obviously it'd be weird if you just like, hey, I got a goal, like, only in the proper setting, right? Would that work? But as you get to know people and you ask questions about them, they ask questions about you, and you say, oh yeah, I set a goal for this year. I want to start investing in real estate. I'm going to do my first fix and flip. I'm going to buy my first rental property or a long-term hold or whatever it is, right? So the more you can say it, and believe me, like, not just say it to people that are going to attribute to the goal, like these couple of people. Like, I said this to a bunch of people that were like already Renata students, or said this to people like my wife or my own father, right? I'm just talking to people about this. They might not help me, but just because I'm getting in the habit of saying what I want to achieve to other people, this is how they say, you attract things to yourself. You don't just do it with the mind powers and the Jedi mind tricks. You do this, you attract it to yourself because you're actually saying words and putting it out there into the universe with your mouth, right? Not just your mind. Yeah, the mind helps, but ultimately it's the mouth that attracts things to you, right? Most people don't know this. Most people don't think of it, of the law of attraction in this way. But this is how it works. This is how you get actual stuff done and putting out there, right? And obviously feeling and acting, understanding, or being your goal. Your goal. In fact, I'm not sure if I've said this before, but I hate personality tests. Right? Like, with a passion, because all personality tests do is try to tell you who you are today, right? We don't care who we are today. We care who we are tomorrow. Your goals, your personality test should be defined by where you plan to go. Your personality test, or you are defined by your goals, by what you plan to achieve. Yeah, I've got somebody off on mute here. I'm not sure. You have to mute on purpose by chance?
Yeah, Daine, this is
Yeah.
Gilda. Yeah, I was just, wondering while you were at your goal. Now, is that possible that you could read your, paragraph, just kind of give us an example of, what to put on there as far as, your goal? I know you have a different goal than I do, but that we do.
Yeah.
But is that possible you could read one of your goals? Like,
Oh, just because you asked, and you know what they all say about asking. If you ask, then you shall. If you ask, and you shall receive. So sure, why not? How about I do this?
Oh,
Okay.
thank you so
So
much.
here's one of my 2020 goals, and this is just one that I'm working on for just my Renatus income. Okay. And so you see me. I wrote this up on January 8th, and so this is not too long ago. And so I'm just starting writing this page, this multiple paragraphs. Okay. And so I start out, I am so grateful that I doubled my income this year because I have a lot of reasons to do it. And I say, see Exhibit A. Okay. So you can see I even have, I throw my personality in here. Okay. See Exhibit A. And I wrote down 100 things and 100 experiences that I want, right? So I know exactly what I will do with twice the income that I had last year, and what I will do with that income this year, right? To the dollar, down to the dollar, I know exactly what I'll do with doubling my income, because I wrote down 100 things. I didn't even make it to 100, but 100 things I wanted, like physical things, and 100 experiences I wanted to be able to experience that. Okay, and so I then start saying, here's how I did it. Oh, you know what? I already see. Here's how I did it. Okay, so you even see as I go through this, I go back and forth, right? Because it's hard to think like this. It's hard to think like this has already happened. Okay. Anyway, so I worked my tail off Monday through Thursday every single week, just like I did last year. Only this year, I figured out how to be home for dinner more often on those Monday through Friday days. Okay. But my work, it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same. I'm not the same person in 2020, or I wasn't the same person in 2020 as I was in 2019, right? I also figured out how to qualify the people that I'm working with a little bit better, so that one, I didn't have to spend as many one-on-ones with each person, or as many one-on-ones to close a single sale, right? So in 2019, I know that I spent about 3 to 4 sometimes one-on-ones to close the sale, to actually collect credit cards. Okay, and so essentially, I'm starting to say I was able to do it in maybe 2 to 3 one-on-ones and close the sale, just because I got better at what I was doing. Okay, and I used more automation techniques and tools and one-to-many stuff like that. Okay, so I was able to get in front of higher qualified people. At the end of the day, I did this by still not making people feel like I don't want to meet with them or their guests, because I have people that I'm helping become 5-star. All right, so I didn't do this by snubbing people. I still made people feel like $1 million, right? And so let's see. So still not making them feel like if I couldn't figure out a way for them to fund 20,000 in the first few minutes of just talking to them, because when I could tell that they weren't, I just had a different route to take for them, right? I had a solution that was customized for them. Let's see, more on them to follow through, basically going through a video series, campaigns that I could just follow up via text and email here and there, and make sure that they're moving along the process, as well as leaning on my team a little bit more. Yeah, and move along, basically to help move them along step by step, and picking up a few sales here and there, UGA, essentials, advanced. And because of this, I was able to spend more time with the people who can afford a full combo, and increased my income by another 30%. And in quotations, you see, made an extra $65,000 just because of this mindset shift. Okay, and so you can see, and we don't have to go any deeper than that, but so you can see that I'm knowing it, right? I'm seeing myself doing this and figuring out how I'm going to do this, right? And even this, like I would say that even that much detail is not enough yet. I still need more detail. So this is why I say that, this is why when I say I practice what I preach, I will still work on this story, if you will, or this this vision, this goal on at least a weekly basis. And so I will continue to work this story. And as I learn more, as I gain more knowledge, and as I gain, as I can see myself doing different things, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can see myself doing this, and making this a reality, where I was able to generate an extra $65,000 from last year. Because one of my goals, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, I did 261 one-on-ones last year. I want to do 261 one-on-ones this year too. I don't want to do more. I just want to do it better, right? Now, when I first set goals, when I was making my first money, yeah, I had to set goals of doing it more because I was working my day job. So I can only spend so many hours a week doing this, and so I set goals of being able to do it more. Yeah, but you see the progression, right? You guys are all smart. I don't need to tell you that. But the progression, I set my goals appropriately, right? So maybe in the beginning, I would set my goals, and I didn't understand this fully back then, but I would have done things like, I am going to be able to spend more time this year, and here's how, right? I'm going to do this, all right? So when I was actually in that phase, I went part-time at my roofing job, and so I only worked, I think, 3 days a week, something like that. And so I would start setting goals like that. Like, all right, I'm going to work a little bit less because I closed my first combo and made $10,000 after 5-star. And I was able to use that money to supplement for 6 to 8 months, going part-time and being able to really hit it hard on doing this. And so that's what I did. That's what I actually did when I was growing myself and my business in Renatus. Yeah, and so does that help? I'm so glad you actually asked that.
Oh yeah, yes, absolutely.
I'm shy and I didn't want to.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Yeah, sorry, my Dave has he's coughing here. Let's you can hear.
Oh, no worries.
Thank you so much.
All right, let me check comments here really fast. Because we gotta wrap it up here. We're already at 8:55. Holy smokes! Yeah. All right. So Jenna Manchango, I had more than a handful of guests who get hung up in funding and then are overcome by their self-limited views, objections. We're having an amazing opportunity for right now. That fire. Saturday, bus center. I'm looking at you guys. How about we talk about this next week, Jenna? I'll either take a screenshot, or jump on and ask that question. But yes, Alex, great job. You got this, right? Just again, if I were to prescribe something without knowing too much detail, there could be something in one of these 5 that is causing you to maybe lack in a little bit of belief or how you're saying or what you're saying. Like, again, by trying to prescribe, I shouldn't, because the doctor needs to know what's wrong before they can prescribe. But if I were to guess, it's something in here that is ready to get rid of some negative things as well as replace it with positive things. That in your story, in your goal, in your vision, and what you're doing, okay? And so, again, without knowing, just work on all of them. Unless you already know which one it is. If you know which one it is, you know yourself better than anybody. Okay, so I would suggest go through that. Let's see. I'm with you. What long-term deals are under? So Sherry, I want to do a bunch of contract for deed type of long-term stuff. So cool. Well, thank you all. Great call today. I'm excited to see you all next week, and we'll do this again. So, and I'll keep you guys updated. I'll let you know if this deal fizzles out or if it becomes and we're able to make it a reality. Regardless of what happens, though, I have learned so much by just going through the motion of putting this deal together that I'm like, oh my gosh, I know how I'm going to do this. Even if this deal doesn't go through, I know exactly how I'm going to do this because every time you go for something, you learn a little bit more. You learn more detail. And so I'll go back and say, here's how we're going to do it, right? Because I didn't know exactly how before. I mean, this is the first one. I've never done a deal like this before. Eh? Anyway, love you all. I'll see you all next week, and have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Thanks, Daine.